guys, it's Victini Gamer here, and well, judging by the title of this video, you probably already know what the video is. I always keep saying that, but seriously though, just read the title. It's honestly, saves me all the trouble of saying it anyways. But since this is YouTube after all, I have to explain it anyway. But yeah, Hu Tao's banner recently just came out. And if you haven't seen the summoning video, see it. Pretty good summoning video, honestly. But yeah, honestly, this banner is worth it. You get Hu Tao, Telma's pretty good, Sayu's good when she's C1, but other than that, she has the fastest movement speed in the game. And then there's Diona, who is good with any constellation, who's also good with Hu Tao, but honestly, she heals Hu Tao, so not really the best pair up between those two, but whatever. So, yeah, and you might be wondering, Victini, why are you even doing this video anyway? Well, if you look back 1 or 2 months ago, the only Hu Tao video I made was the Hu Tao character showcase video, where I showcased what my Hu Tao could do. And since Hu Tao recently just came out, well, I have to make a video on her anyway. So, yeah. But anyways, this, as the title suggests, is a Hu Tao character guide. So we'll be going over Hu Tao's talents, skills, constellations, artifacts, weapons, team comps, everything that a guide should tell you. So, yeah, without any further ado, and without, you know, any stalling, let's just get over, this Hu Tao guide. This is the Hu Tao guide. Alright, so let's just get this started already. We're going to Hu Tao and going to talents. So as you can see, I already have all her talents maxed out. Honestly, pretty good. Yeah. So anyways, let's just go over this. So, her first talent is that she just does normal damage. Honestly, her percentages are pretty good, even with normal hits. But the charge attack is what really matters here. At max level, it's 242%, which is a lot of damage. And she hits 6 times, so it's pretty... it'll take a while for her to get to her 6th hit, which does a lot of damage. But it'll all be worth it anyway. But if you already have Hu Tao C1, it doesn't really matter because you're just going to be using charge attack anyways. And you should be using charge attack regardless, even if you are not C1. Because that is where Hu Tao's damage stems the most, is her charge attack. And her kit shows, as you could see with Guide to Afterlife, which is her E skill. So, what does her E skill do? When you activate it, Hu Tao will consume HP. So, depending on your max HP, you will get an attack boost based on your max HP. So here, it takes away 30% of Hu Tao's HP, and then it converts 6.226% of your max HP into attack. And if you charge attack an enemy, when you're in the Guide to Afterlife state, you will apply a Blood Blossom. And a Blood Blossom will do pyro damage every 4 seconds. So on top of the damage you're doing, you're also putting down more pyro damage thanks to the Blood Blossom. And the Blood Blossom does, well, it does 115% damage of your pyro damage. So, yeah, pretty good, right? And especially, since this is Hu Tao's main gimmick, you know, thing. So, honestly, if you are trying to level up something first, level up this, skill. Because this skill is what makes Hu Tao Hu Tao. So, yeah. And enough of Hu Tao's Guide to Afterlife. Let's just go to the Spirit Soother. So, Spirit Soother is just big damage bonk burst. I just summarized it in like 3 words. So yeah, when you cast this skill, it basically does a lot of pyro damage, depending on Hu Tao's max HP. So yeah, if you are under 50% HP, then you will do more damage, as you can see here. So on normal circumstances, when you're above 50% HP, you're going to be doing around 500 damage, or 500% damage. And if you are at low HP, which is less than 50%, you'll do 617% damage, which is a lot more damage than your base skill damage. So yeah. And also, if you are at very low HP, you will generate a lot of HP, so Hu Tao could just infinitely heal as long as you have her burst ready. And if you are at high HP, which means above 50%, she won't heal that much, so you could comfortably go down to below 50% HP when you cast her skill anyways, after you use your Q, so that is pretty good too. So yeah, and his cooldown is moderate too, 60 energy cost, pretty good burst in general. So yeah, and I forgot to mention Guide to Afterlife's duration, but it's pretty simple. You basically get a 9-second duration on that and a 16-second cooldown. The cooldown's not bad, honestly, because you're going to be out with the Guide of Afterlife for a really long time. So yeah. And time for her passives. So our passive is pretty good, these 2 passives, but honestly the best one is Sanguine Rogue, but Flutterby is also pretty good for those switch out teams. So when the Paramita Papilio, which is basically her E state, is activated by the Guide of Afterlife, which is also her E. I mean, why would you? Why would they name it both ways? But anyways. And all allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao herself, will have crit rate increased by 12% for 8 seconds. So basically, when her E ends, you will get a 12% crit rate increase. So for characters that are sub DPSs like Xingqiu, Bennett, if you are building those as sub DPSs. Chongyun is a pretty good example of a sub DPS, same with Rosaria. Rosaria needs the crit rate increase because, well, her Q is scaled off a crit rate. So yeah. As well as other sub DPSs. It also works with supports too. So basically, her whole team gets crit rate boost, meaning that they will crit more often. So it's pretty good. If you're doing the, well, Chongyun Hu Tao combo, where between E's cooldowns you could just do cryo damage. So yeah, it's pretty good, honestly. And finally, her last passive, which is the most broken thing I have ever seen in my life. So when her HP is below 50%, it increases her pyro damage by 33%. Broken! Absolutely broken! It's so broken because it stacks with this. It stacks with this. You get this amount of pyro damage when you use her E, and then you get this. It's honestly the most broken thing I have ever seen in my life. So yeah, Hu Tao is a pyro damage god. As long as you build her correctly, honestly, but it's not that hard to build her. So yeah, and well, this passive talent, it just basically lets her cook a suspicious dish. But thanks to like the new update, like a few months ago, you can just cook suspicious dishes anyway. So this passive is completely useless. It's useless. You don't really need this anyway. It's pretty bad. So yeah, that is basically her skill sets. Time to go on to her constellations. Yes, I am doing transitions, okay? Jeez. I have to make this a professional guide with a little humor, you know, for the memes. But anyways, let's look at her constellations. So her constellations are pretty good. As if you've seen the summon video on Hu Tao, I got her C1. But yeah. I am ready! Well, praised her for too much. You already know this C1 is the most broken thing imaginable ever created besides Ganyu's. When you do her charge attack level 2, you get cryo res decrease, which is pretty broken too. But yeah, her C1 basically is when you use her E, you don't consume stamina when you charge attack. So when you charge attack, you could do it infinitely as long as you're in that state. So you could do this for 9 seconds without consuming any stamina, which means that you could use your stamina for other things like sprinting. So it's pretty important in Spiral Abyss, especially if enemies are spread out. You could just do charge attack, you don't have to consume any stamina, and you can chase down the next enemy, which is pretty good too. And time for her C2. Her C2 is honestly not that good, but it's still pretty good, I guess. So basically, when you use her Q, it basically puts a Blood Blossom on her Q. And also, her Blood Blossom's damage increases based on Hu Tao's max HP. So not only is your Blood Blossom doing more damage, but you can also apply Blood Blossom by using your Q, not just using a charge attack with her E. So, it's used for people who want to, you know, do more pyro damage. Honestly, more pyro damage, the better. So yeah. And also her Q applies Blood Blossom, and her Q is an AoE instead of an E using, well, single target, because her charge attack is a single target move. Yeah, so you could use her Q to surround yourself, and then you could apply Blood Blossoms, which do even more damage, thanks to C2. So honestly, pretty good. So her C3 is just basically increasing her Guide to Afterlife. Pretty good. Her C4. So when you defeat an enemy with a Blood Blossom, or basically when you defeat an enemy that has a Blood Blossom on them, you basically get more crit rate. So everyone basically gets 12% crit rate for 15 seconds. So basically, this C4 stacks with Flutterby. So not only are you getting 12% crit rate for 8 seconds, you're also getting 12% crit rate for 15 seconds. So you are getting 24% crit rate for 8 seconds, and then for the remaining seconds, you get 12% crit rate. Still pretty good. C5 just increases her Q damage, so yeah. And then C6. C6 is honestly really funky and really weird, but it works. So when Hu Tao's HP is below 25%, or when she basically gets one shot by an enemy, for the next 10 seconds, all her physical and elemental resistances are increased by 200%. Her crit rate is increased by 100%, and she basically gets resistance to interruption. And this occurs every 60 seconds. So basically, when you're below 25% HP, which is probably not that often, but it's often if you have a high HP pool Hu Tao, like my Hu Tao build, which I will get to later. So yeah, basically it just increases her physical and elemental resistance for 200%. So basically she'll become a tank. Her crit rate gets increased by 100%, which means that she will crit all the time. And she gets resistance to interruption. Basically Xingqiu's Q. So she gets Xingqiu's Q's effect on top of being tanky and on top of critting everything. So yeah, it's pretty good. And this lasts for 10 seconds. Yes, this lasts for 10 seconds. It's pretty good. And plus, basically, she will not die for 10 seconds too. So, yeah, pretty broken, right? But honestly, C6 is not really that worth it because you're only getting this for 10 seconds and it only occurs every 60 seconds. So you basically have to wait a minute per butterfly embrace. But yeah, that's basically all of Hu Tao's constellations. Honestly, a pretty good bulk of constellations. Honestly, I say it's probably one of the best constellation sets in the game. So yeah. Anyways, with talents and constellations out of the way, you probably already know what Hu Tao can do. So, well, time to go over what you have to do to make her really good, which is basically choosing the right weapon and choosing the right artifacts. But honestly, I will go with the artifacts first, because, well, we have to go over the artifacts in order to choose the weapon anyway, and plus the weapons are easier to get than the artifacts, so might as well go over the artifacts. So yeah, let's just go over the artifacts already. Artifacts! Artifacts, 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 artifacts! It's time to go over, well, I already said it like 3 times already, the artifacts. So, I will be going over the main stat and the substats on what, like, you should get on her artifacts, because, honestly, choosing an artifact set is easier said than done. So, yeah, because you know how grinding sucks in this game with domains and artifact RNG, artifact.exe, shameless plugin. But, yeah. So, let's just go over the main stats and the substats that you will need to make your Hu Tao broken AF. So, here we go. Let's start out with the main stats first. So, for main stats on Hu Tao, you basically want the Hu Tao standard. And what is the Hu Tao standard? It's basically what every Hu Tao DPS build has on them. You'll see it on every player. You'll see it on every, well, artifact set recommendation. Even I recommend it for Hu Tao DPS builds. So, yeah. So here are the 3 main stats you should get on your Hu Tao. HP percent main stat. Pyro damage bonus percent. And last but not least, crit rate main stat. And you're wondering, why not crit damage main stat? Well, if you do have Staff of Homa, which is available right now on the summons, or Black Cliff, which is also available in the shop, you don't need crit damage artifacts. But if you don't have either Black Cliff or Staff of Homa, you could do crit damage and then you could substitute it with any weapon that benefits Hu Tao of your choice, which I will be going over later in the weapon section. So yes, basically this is what you will be going for your main stats. I'll repeat it again for clarity. HP percent, pyro damage bonus, and crit rate. Basically her best main stats in her artifact kit. As for substats, you will need, well, crit damage, HP percent, and crit rate. You can also go for Elemental Mastery if you are going for the famous Hu Tao Xingqiu combo, because Elemental Mastery has been buffed, and thanks to the buffed Elemental Mastery, you'll be doing more reaction damage. So Elemental Mastery is not a bad thing to cop, but your main stats should always be, or your main subsets should always be crit rate, crit damage, HP percent, as it will boost Hu Tao's damage even further, and because Hu Tao's HP is scaled through to her attack percent. So you will need crit rate, crit damage, HP percent, and I repeated it again because it is very important. You could do Elemental Mastery on the side. You could do attack percent if you think that, well, you don't have enough attack. You can also do Energy Recharge if you really want her Q to proc more often. So yeah, that is basically her main stat and substats. Time to actually go over her actual artifact sets. So here we go. Her main artifact set, or basically what everyone uses on her, is 4-piece witches. And in my opinion, you don't have to use this build, or at least I don't. But you can use this build if you want. But 4-piece witches set is pretty good on Hu Tao if you are doing nothing but elemental reactions. So, of course, as I mentioned, the famous Xingqiu Hu Tao combo. And as well as it basically increases her pyro damage even more. The 4-piece bonus thing. So let's just read the 4-piece set for witches, shall we? So, it increases overload and burning damage by 40%. Honestly, Hu Tao Beto overload damage is pretty good. Burning, not so much, because we don't even have a Dendro character yet. So, pretty weird. Increases vaporize and melt damage by 15%. So, Chongyun Hu Tao, Rosaria Hu Tao, Xingqiu Hu Tao, all those gets increased by 15%. Using an elemental skill increases the 2-piece set bonus by 50% of its starting value for 10 seconds. Max of 3 stacks. So basically, you're getting a 50% bonus on your pyro damage. So basically, you're getting over 20% pyro damage on Hu Tao. I think it's like around 22 or 23%. But honestly, in my opinion, 4-piece is probably not the best set on her. You want to know why? Well, let's take a look at Diluc. So Diluc, with the 4-piece set, you already know Diluc's E, right? I will show it off here. Diluc's E hits 3 times. So basically, this artifact set will proc its max value. Max stacks of 3. It'll basically give the pyro damage bonus 150% of its value. So basically, Diluc would have over 40% pyro damage when he uses all 3 of his E's. Which basically, with every Diluc player, you will be doing all 3 of his E's anyway. So you're going to be doing the max amount of damage here. But, for Hu Tao, guess what her E is? Her E only procs once. And the cooldown, 16 seconds. And its duration is 9 seconds. So basically, you're only able to proc this skill once. And the bonus only lasts for 10 seconds, so you're only going to be proccing this skill once. So you're basically only just going to get like around 20% pyro damage boost. It's so minuscule, it doesn't even work with me, honestly. But it is her best set if you want to do the most damage, because it still has this perk right here. Increases vaporize and melt damage, as well as overload damage too. So if you are doing Hu Tao Beto, it's pretty good. Or Hu Tao Raiden is also pretty good too. So yeah, honestly, this 4-piece Witches set is her best set if you are going for elemental reactions. But it's not the best set because of this secondary effect that this piece has. But let's say you agree with me and you said, well, that's dumb that her E only procs once on her 4-piece Witches set. Well, I have a solution. 2-piece Pyro and 2-piece Millilith. So what does Millilith do? Millilith basically increases her HP by 20%. And that is all you need to know, because you already know that Hu Tao stacks her attack based on her max HP. So, on top of getting pyro damage, you're also getting an HP percent increase, which means that she will get a lot more attack here. So, basically you're getting the best of both worlds. And basically you're just going to be doing more consistent pyro damage. Anyway. So, yeah. honestly, it's the build I recommend. Honestly, her best build ever. Yeah. And if you are fortunate enough to get a lot of these artifact sets, if I could pull it up real quick. If you get a lot of Wanderers, you could do 2-piece Pyro damage, 2-piece Wanderers if you love to do elemental reactions instead of doing a 4-piece Witches if you are unlucky. So if you are unlucky with 4-piece Witches and not getting enough, artifact RNG, you could sub a 4-piece Witches with the 2-piece Pyro damage and 2-piece Wanderers, because Elemental Mastery, as I said before, is buffed, so you'll be doing a lot more elemental reaction damage anyway, so it's pretty good too. And you can honestly do 4-piece Millilith on Hu Tao if you want to, if you are running a shield comp like Zhongli. So if you are doing Zhongli Hu Tao, which is also pretty common too, basically they'll get their shield strength increased by 30%, and basically her attack is increased by 20%. So you're basically getting a 20% attack boost, as well as shield protection, and HP percent increased by 20. So you'll be doing more. So you'll be getting more attack. So yeah, in order, I recommend as your Hu Tao build. This is my personal opinion. Pyro damage bonus, 2-piece Pyro, 2-piece Millilith, 4-piece Witches, 4-piece Millilith, and 2-piece Pyro, 2-piece Wanderers. But for community-wise, and if you really want to be like top god on your Hu Tao, then 4-piece Witches, 2-piece Pyro, 2-piece Millilith, 4-piece Millilith, then 2-piece Pyro, 2-piece Wanderers. So yeah, but in the end, it's between it's your choice of 2-piece Pyro, 2-piece Millilith, or 4-piece Witches. Honestly, both of them are pretty good. And whichever you choose is whatever you choose. But as for me, I will be sticking with Pyro damage and Millilith, because honestly, the 4-piece Witches thing is not for Hu Tao. It's meant for characters like, well, Bennett, which he hits for 3 times in his E when you charge it up, and Diluc, who is also basically getting the full maximum Pyro damage boost thanks to his triple E hit. So yeah, since now you already know the artifact sets that you will need for your Hu Tao, it's time to go over weapons. So let's just go over those.
I never felt like down. I never felt like down.
Remember what I said about how crit rate and crit damage depends on what weapon you have? Well, weapons! Weapons! We are going to be talking about weapons now. So honestly, do I really have to explain what Hu Tao's best weapon is? It's literally right in front of your eyes. I mean, it's totally not like Hu Tao's weapon banner, released alongside with Hu Tao. It's totally not like this staff is the best staff in the game. It's totally not like it also works with Zhongli as well. It's totally not because when you paired with a crit rate artifact, this staff is probably one of the best staffs in the game for DPSs. Yeah, it's totally not like that at all. Well, if you guys don't even know what this staff is, well, your grandma knows it, your grandpa knows it, your mother knows it, your father knows it, your brother knows it, your sister knows it, your baby knows it, your siblings knows it, your cousins know it, even your ancestors know it. It is the Staff of Homa, the best pole arm for Hu Tao. So if you are using a crit rate artifact, Staff of Homa is the best weapon for Hu Tao. And I mean, you could go crit damage on your artifact with Staff of Homa, but you have to make up with it for crit rate substats. And honestly, getting at least around 40% crit rate substats requires a lot of luck in RNG. So, honestly, it's not even worth going for. I would just say get a crit rate artifact main stat and then focus all on crit damage on your substats so you can maximize the amount of damage Hu Tao can do with her crit damage. So honestly, that's the route that you should go for. But if you do not have enough fates for the Staff of Homa banner, once you pulled Hu Tao, maybe you got unlucky with Hu Tao. You got her on your 90th pull, and you don't have enough fates, and there's not enough time left to get the Staff of Homa, and you don't want to risk the 50-50 on the weapon banner. So what is the best alternative? Well, it's in the shop right now. I'll put it up on screen. It is the Black Cliff Polearm. This is the second best option for Hu Tao if you are doing crit rate artifact hat. So basically, it's like the Staff of Homa, but not as good, but it's still good. Its effect is basically every time you defeat an opponent, your attack stacks basically. And basically, you're just going to be doing more damage because your attack keeps on stacking. You're going to be doing a lot more damage the more you kill. It's a pretty good polearm. Now then, you might be wondering, what if I don't want the Black Cliff or the Staff of Homa because I'm a free-to-play and you know, I would rather spend my, well, currency on characters instead of the actual shop weapons? Well, there are solutions to this, but you have to opt for a crit damage helmet instead. But, the third best option for Hu Tao, if you are going for a crit damage hat, helmet, whatever you call it, I'll just call it crit damage helmet, is the Primordial Jade Spear. I'll put it up on screen because I don't have the Primordial Jade Spear. But the Jade Spear is a pretty good weapon. Honestly, in my personal opinion, it's like one of the best 5-star weapons in the game. It's used on Zhao. It's used on Zhongli if you want to crit more often and if you have substats as your, you know, crit damage substats and all. Yeah, it's a pretty good weapon. Primordial Jade Spear is a good substitute if you do not have Staff of Homa or a Black Cliff and if you are using a crit damage helmet instead of a crit rate one. So that one's pretty good. Another option if you are doing a crit damage helmet is Dragon's Bane. Dragon's Bane is pretty good. So with the Blood Blossom for Hu Tao every time you charge attack, they'll be affected by Pyro anyways, since once you apply the Blood Blossom, they are affected by Pyro. And basically, this weapon's ability procs. It does pyro damage every time, or it does more pyro damage when the opponent is affected by Pyro. So, you do more damage on top of the Blood Blossom, which is also pretty good too. Another weapon you could use if you are doing a crit damage artifact is the Deathmatch. The Deathmatch is pretty good. If you're doing a 1v1, its attack is increased by 24%. That is R1. If you do bother spending at least $10 and going to Battle Pass 30 to get the Deathmatch. So it's not free-to-play friendly, but it's still a pretty good option. You basically get 33% crit rate, so that basically covers most of your crit rate substats, and you can just focus on crit damage as your substats. So it's pretty good. So if I have to rank these weapons in order, in my opinion, it's probably the Staff of Homa, of course, then the Primordial Jade Spear, then Deathmatch. Those are the pay-to-play options. And then we'll go to the free-to-play options, which are the Dragon's Bane and the Black Cliff. So, honestly, it's Staff of Homa, Primordial Jade Spear, Deathmatch, Dragon's Bane, then Black Cliff. And you're wondering why Black Cliff is last? Well, have you seen how much it costs in the shop? You would rather get Bennett instead. Honestly, just get Bennett instead of the Black Cliff. Because if you do not have any other options, you could just go Black Cliff anyway. It's probably Hu Tao's. If you can't afford Black Cliff, then I would say I would rank it above Deathmatch, honestly. So if you can't afford Black Cliff in the shop, then the order of weapons follows: Staff of Homa, Primordial Jade, Black Cliff, Deathmatch, Dragon's Bane. That is basically the 6 weapons Hu Tao can use. So yeah, that is it for the weapons. It's time to go over the team comps and how to use Hu Tao in those team comps. So here we are in the, well, team comps. Hu Tao's best team comps, Hu Tao team comps, team building, everything in this section of the video. So yeah, I already discussed about how Hu Tao can work in many teams in my Hu Tao showcase video, where I showcased my Hu Tao in many, and I mean many, different teams. I also discussed what the best teams for Hu Tao is. So in this section, I'm gonna be mostly referencing that video. So if you haven't watched it, I suggest watching it, because basically there you could see Hu Tao in action and how she's really good. And my Hu Tao back then was C0, so you could see a C0 Hu Tao in action at her full glory, her full power, and all of that. So yeah, but anyways, enough stalling, let's just go over Hu Tao's best team comps. So the first one here is, well, you're looking at it right now, is the Pyro Resonance team. So obviously you want Hu Tao as your main. Xingqiu can be replaced with any sub DPS or support option, like Chongyun, Mona, who else is good? Rosaria, yeah, could be replaced by those, but Xingqiu is honestly her best sub option due to resonating with Hu Tao's attacks, because every time Xingqiu does his Q and every time you attack, it resonates with her attack as well. Same thing with C6 Fischl, every time you attack the Oz attacks too. So you can put Xingqiu or Fischl on your team if you want. We have Venti here for the Viridescent buff, because they'll put Kazuha. Kazuha is also pretty good too. Honestly, better than a better animal support than Venti, but Venti is also pretty good for crowd control. So yeah, either one of those two works. You can even put Sucrose for Elemental Mastery as well. And honestly, any animal support works. Even Sayu works, because she scales off of attack and she scales off of Elemental Mastery. So there we go. And of course, last but not least, we have our boy Bennett. If you are confident with healing, or if you are confident with dodging with Hu Tao, then you can replace Bennett with Zhongling C6, honestly. But if you don't have Zhongling C6, then Bennett is still the best option by far. So yeah, Bennett for the attack boost with his Q, and they can heal up Hu Tao very well. It heals Hu Tao up to 70%, so honestly, using her E will put her down to 40% HP. So it's not that bad of a healing thing. And plus, if you do think healing is pretty bad for Hu Tao and you want her to stay below 50, you could just use Zhongling. Zhongling increases pyro damage every time you cast her Q. And she has that Goba buff where they put a pepper down in the field and you can pick up the pepper, and it basically increases your attack damage even further. So yeah, Pyro Resonance team is also pretty good. You basically get all the benefits of that, as well as 25% attack on top of that. So you're getting a strong base 25% attack boost on top of Hu Tao's well, skills and passives. So yeah, Pyro Resonance teams, honestly one of our best teams. And now, moving on to the second team here. We'll put Xingqiu in the back. Putting
Understood.
Albedo and Zhongli.
Sure.
So this team is the Geo Resonance team. This team is also pretty good too. Wanna know why? Because Zhongli, if you do not have Zhongli, then you could just sub out anyone. You could put Noelle, honestly. But if you do have Zhongli, then basically his E is infinite because his E's skill, we can check right here on details. If you hold down the shield, it basically lasts for 20 seconds. Pretty good, right? So, it lasts for 20 seconds, and the cooldown is 12 seconds on his E. So, honestly, it's pretty good. He basically has his E infinitely broken. Broken on Geo comps, as well, as long as you are refreshing his shield way more often than you should, then you should be fine. So, if you are running a support Zhongli, let's say 4-piece Millilith with the attack damage bonus every time you cast your E, you'll also get the shield bonus from the resonance right here, where you increase the damage that you do by 15%. So, you get 15% damage on top of the 25%. Or the 20% attack boost from the Millilith set. So yeah, and your shield is infinite too, thanks to Zhongli's shield duration. Yeah, it's honestly, Geo Resonance is pretty broken with Hu Tao. And Hu Tao needs survivability anyways, because she will get hit a lot. And you don't want her HP, and plus her HP will be critical anyway, because you're under 50 and you don't want to afford to get hit at least once in Spiral Abyss. So yeah. Albedo is here because, well, Albedo is a pretty good Geo support. He is gonna get a rerun in 2.3, so honestly, in my opinion, worth it. Albedo does a lot of damage. His E comes out really quickly. His Q does a lot of damage too. Every time you attack with Hu Tao or any person on the team, Albedo's skill procs and then he does damage. It's pretty good. And Xingqiu, you already know how broken Xingqiu is, so yeah. This is basically the ideal Pyro Resonance team. Or not Pyro Resonance team. The ideal Geo Resonance team right here. Pure peak. Shield, damage, anything you want. So yeah. And last but not least, we have... Well, we will keep these two. We will replace Xingqiu with Bennett.
You want me on your team?
And here we go! Honestly, in my opinion, this is, well, the second best team. The first best team is the Pyro Resonance team. Actually, wait, no. I say Pyro and Geo Resonance team are tied as being Hu Tao's best team, but this team is second. Because, well, it's Pyro and Geo Resonance. So, on top of getting 25% attack, and on top of the 15% attack you get with Geo Resonance, you get a shield buff as well. You get Bennett Q, you get Zhongli's shield that lasts infinitely, you get Albedo with the extra damage, and then Hu Tao is Hu Tao. So honestly, this team is pretty good. Pure power, it's Hu Tao's most damaging team by far, unless you count Pyro Resonance with the Viridescent thing. Like Viridescent, you do Pyro, Viridescent, and then you apply a reaction, and then you basically do a crap ton of damage. But yeah, if coming terms with raw damage, basically Hu Tao's best team for raw damage is Pyro Geo. It's pretty good. This is the ideal Pyro Geo team. In my opinion, I think the ideal Pyro team, as you saw with Hu Tao, Xingqiu, Venti, Bennett, is honestly just replace Venti with Kazuha. So yeah, honestly, choose whatever of these three team comps you want. In my opinion, these are the best team comps. There are some other team comps that are like out there, like Pyro Cryo or like Pyro Cryo Resonance, Pyro Hydro, but Pyro Hydro is kind of poo-poo because of the healing bonus. So yeah, Yeah, so those are like off-the-wall teams, but honestly, these 3 teams are her best team comps. Choose whichever one you want. They will perform really well and splendid. So anyways, let's just go over my final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts on Hu Tao? Well, judging by this video, and how long it is, and how, I kept praising her all too long, well, you already know my answer. Yes! Yes, 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 yes! Most broken character in the game, besides Ganyu. She works on any team comp. Her constellations are good, her passives are good, her damage is good, her kit is good, her weapon is good, everything about her is good. Honestly, must summon. If you do not have Hu Tao, then this is a must summon. This is a must summon. Hu Tao is pretty good. If you already have Hu Tao, what are you even doing? Build her right now! That's why I made this guide in the first place, for you to build Hu Tao. I just can't praise this unit enough. She is my secondary main, besides Beto. Beto's my first main. But, yeah. So that is basically, well, the Hu Tao guide. Hope you guys enjoyed my rant. Hope you guys enjoyed my praise on Hu Tao. I just can't get enough. So, yeah. So, if you guys think this guide is helpful, or if you just like Hu Tao in general, leave a like down below. And also, if you enjoy my content, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. I try to upload every week, or at least once a week. And if you enjoy Genshin content and other meme videos as well, and some off-the-wall videos like Smash, yeah, consider subbing. I said that already, but yeah. And don't forget to comment down below! What do you think of Hu Tao? Basically anything Hu Tao in the comments below. You think the guide is helpful? What's your favorite thing about Hu Tao? You think Hu Tao is broken, or do you think my opinions are probably wrong? Whatever it is, just leave it in the comments down below. Well, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video, this guide of Hu Tao, and I'll see you guys in the next video.